This isn't about my journey. I wanted to come on here and document this, and just maybe this is just for me to come back and look at, or maybe it's for somebody out there. But as a wife, we are a helpmeet, and we are called to help the man. And we see from the very beginning in the garden that God saw that Adam needed someone. And when he did give him someone, he gave him a wife, and he called her a helpmeet. He said it was very good when she came on the scene. And God created the garden, and he created all the creation and man before he created Eve. She came on the scene later. If you go back and really look at how it's broken down, and I didn't come up with this. I actually heard, I think John Bevere might have talked about this, or another pastor, but it just kind of hit me. Eve didn't hear the instruction from God to not eat from that tree. He told it to Adam, and then he made Eve. And we could speculate and say, well, actually, we're getting it out of order. But the way we read it, it looks very clear that he made Adam, gave him instruction, and then made Eve, right? And if that's the case, we see that Adam was supposed to, he had a job to do as the ruler of the world, right? The head of the earth, the only man. Well, and there's speculation on that too. God may have created other people and anyways, we won't go there. He had a job to do, and it was to teach his wife the laws of God. Teach his wife about this God that he had walked with in the cool of the day. She got to walk with God in the cool of the day because she was one with him. She was made from him, and God made her for him. And so by design, she got to be a partaker of walking with God in the cool of the day too. And Adam had a job to do to reveal to Eve that this tree is not good to eat. You can eat any other tree. Don't even touch this tree. And somehow, some way, Eve convinced Adam. Now, we know that Eve was convinced by the enemy. So we see that in the very, very beginning, the enemy didn't first come after the husband. He came after the wife. However, maybe he did come after the husband in the very beginning, because if Adam would have been covering Eve, Eve would have never eaten. Maybe she could have been disrespectful and unruly and dominant and refusing, but that's not how we saw it go down. We saw her get deceived. We saw her think that there was something more for her. We saw her see that we clearly see that there was a need here, because that's where Satan went, right? He went to Eve. He went to attack Eve in a place of need. There's a bug on me, y'all. Sorry. Obviously, something was not getting met by Adam. Maybe he didn't give her the information. Maybe he wasn't covering her well. Maybe he wasn't watching over her the way that he should have been. But obviously, there was a door open, right? There was a hole. There was a breach. And so we see Satan come into Eve to meet her, and I would say minister to her in wickedness, right? He came to minister to that need in his deception and convince her that there was more for her. And obviously Adam hadn't revealed this thing to her, and maybe he had told her not to eat from it, but obviously it wasn't covering or convincing enough for her to not believe this lie. And so we see that Satan comes in and deceives her, and she is able to now convince her husband. And we know how the story goes. It's always been amazing to me to see, as you look at broken marriages, it's not always the case, but so many times there is a extra spiritual wife, and there is a wayward husband, a husband running from the Lord, or a husband not sold out. And you always see these women who are just, they're doing all the things, right? For the kingdom, at least they think they are. And we see over spiritual women, and we see no spiritual men. And this is where the enemy loves to play. And we see that in the garden. And I was just reminded, as I'm just walking the field and trying to just catch my breath, because I'm so overwhelmed with the heaviness of this warfare, not just in my marriage, but so many marriages. And I'm tired of it. I'm so tired of it. And it's hitting my home. And here's the thing, I know the promise, and I know the victory's coming in mine. I know it. I just have to stand firm, right? The Lord has been so faithful and spoken to me and promised me and prophesied over me and given me dreams and given me visions and given me sisters to surround me. So it's not that I'm hopeless. It's that I'm weary and I'm hurting because of this fight, of this same stupid deception back in the garden of why the man is somehow not doing what God designed him to do, and therefore the enemy is able to get into the family and the wife tears down her house. And so as I was walking, I was reminded of my mother-in-law and father-in-law some years back. My father-in-law got cancer. I don't remember if he got diagnosed first or she got diagnosed first, and maybe that doesn't matter, but it basically right at the same time, he got a diagnosis and she did too. She got a diagnosis of breast cancer, but she was so focused on getting him healthy that it didn't even seem like she had breast cancer. You know, she was so focused on his cancer and getting him well and getting him taken care of and getting him to the doctors. And it was like her cancer wasn't even there. And I was reminded of that as I was walking the field, because I'm finding myself in a place, and I know several of my friends or sisters that I walk with who are struggling in marriage are finding themselves in the same place where you have a wound and you have a hurt and you have these places where your husband has defiled your heart, and you have these places where you need his fulfillment, you need his recognition, you need his affirmation, you need his love, you need him to cover you, you need him to guard you from that serpent, and he's just not, or he hasn't, or maybe he has, but he's really fallen. And in those places you find yourself needing and wanting and just having this burning to go and tell him what he's done and how he can fix it. And I was reminded of my parents, my husband's parents. And I just need to encourage myself and maybe encourage somebody else. You're both sick. You're both hurting. You're both struggling. And it is God's design for the man to be the covering. It is God's design for the man to be the spiritual leader. It is God's design for man to cover the wife and the family and teach them. And if we don't get them well, we're never going to be able to walk this out the way God designed. Does that mean that there's no hope for the broken marriage, and that if your husband never surrenders and you've got to just keep plowing the field, that God's not going to meet you there? Absolutely. He's going to keep meeting you there. But it is not God's design. It is not his will for our marriages to be broken or divided. It is not his will for the wife to be plowing the field and the husband to be off in the woods. It's not his design. Will he meet you in those places if it never comes to fruition? Absolutely. I don't want anyone to lose hope. Keep plowing the field. But it is the Lord's will for the husband to cover the woman. And it is the wife's job to get the husband well. And we might have cancer too. We might be broken too. It may be wounds afflicted by our man. But I want to encourage myself, and I want to encourage you. Do not run to him to fix you. Do not run to him to know all of the ways that he's broken you. Do not run to him to tell him how broken and hurt you are by him. If you have a husband who's not well, get him well. Run to your Father who is going to heal you, who will fulfill you, who will take care of you, who will swoop you up. He is your defender. He is your fulfillment, and you have to run to him right now while your husband is sick, because you have a job to do. Even though you're hurting too, you've got to get him well. You're a nurturer. You're a life giver. You've got to nurture him back to health. It might not be fair, but he has a mighty role He has a mighty role to play. Yours is just as mighty. It's different. But when you can get him well, you can't be his savior. You're never going to get him saved. But I love that there are scriptures to the wife. 1 Peter 3:5, they without the word may be won by the conduct of their wives. Do you know that in the King James Version, it doesn't say they without a word, meaning don't speak. It means they without the word, meaning if they aren't in the word, if they aren't in the church, if they aren't in the prayer meeting, if they aren't worshiping, if they aren't living this thing out, they can still be won by your love, by your conduct, by your chasteness, by your modestness, by you submitting and taking your hurt and your needs to the Lord and trusting the Lord to defend you. When we keep trying to take this to broken men, they can't fix us and them. And so we've got to remember that we've got to nurture them back to health. We've got to minister to them in this place of life-giving. And we have to trust that our Abba and our husband, we are his bride. He is going to take care of us. You can't save your husband, but you have a mighty power as a wife, or there wouldn't be scriptures like 1 Peter 3:5. And so I want to encourage myself and maybe somebody else out there. Stay steadfast. Take your wounds, take your hurts, take your brokenness to the Lord. You may feel undone. I'm finding myself in that place, and it's not going to be a moment fix either. I've gotten those, right? I have a community that I get to pray with. I've got women who hold my hands up, and I'm getting to go into places where I'm getting filled back up and strengthened for a day or for a few days. And then something else might happen and I'm finding myself back down in the valley. Keep plowing that field and keep taking those things to the Lord. Here's the apple, girls. Here's the fruit. Satan wants you to take a bite of laying this at your husband's feet when God wants you to lay it at his. Your husband is not the Lord. You are to serve him as unto the Lord. You're to point him to the Lord. You are to take him to the Lord. You are to show him the Lord, but you are not to look at him as he's your Lord. And there may be things that he did that you need him to fix. That's my story. I can't look to him right now. I have to look to my Redeemer. Breathe life into your husband. Take your wounds, take your hurts, take your brokenness to the feet of Jesus. He sees you. He sees you crying. He sees your brokenness. He sees the inmost of your heart where you feel like you can't do another moment of this. He sees it. Keep plowing. Keep pressing in. Keep nurturing that cancer patient back to remission. 1 Peter 3:5, they without a word may be won by the conduct of their wives. That verse goes on to say when it is coupled with their chaste and modest, I can't even think of it right now. But I just want to encourage somebody, as the Lord reminded me, my sweet little mother-in-law, fighting for her life for herself, fighting breast cancer. But she was so focused on getting her husband back to health that it didn't even seem like she had cancer. And we got to be women like that. We cannot get in our feelings. We cannot sit in our resentments and our bitternesses and our hurts. When those rise up, and they will, and they do, you have to fight them. You have to cast them on the Lord. The Lord is not reminding you over and over and over about how hurt your husband made you. That's not the Lord. The Lord is not reminding you over this wound that you now have that your husband made. That's not the Lord. When those resentments, when those thoughts, when those record keepings come up, you have to cast them at the feet of the Lord. I refuse to be offended. I refuse to allow that to hurt. Does that mean that there are not things that our husbands have done that are validly unjust? Absolutely. But we have to trust the Lord with those places. We have to trust the Lord to vindicate us. We have to trust the Lord to defend us. And ultimately, this is not our enemy. Our husband is not our enemy. So we don't want to see the vengeance of the Lord against our husband. We want to see the salvation of the Lord on our husbands. And so we have to, this is what I tell women on a daily basis if I'm counseling somebody about marriage. This is your cross. The cross was brutal. It was bloody. It was gruesome. And it ended in death. But there was resurrection, and there will be resurrection, and we must keep taking these wounds and these broken places and these hurts and this lack. We have to keep taking them to the Lord, and we have to keep feeding that man, that Adam. We have to keep feeding him and nurturing him back to health. So ladies, be like my mother-in-law. I'm gonna be like my mother-in-law. And I'm gonna know that there's a wound. Cancer's there. But I'm gonna know that God's gonna take care of me in my wound and in my hurt and in my disease, in my infirmity. He's gonna take care of me because I got a job to do. I gotta take care of my man. And I'm telling you, girls, if we will shift and stop looking at all the things these men are not doing, and we will help them get there, it'll change the world. So I hope you're encouraged today.